Woo Zen, A Cinderella Story. Story adapted by Meg Livingston and Laura Burton Rice. Illustrations by Scott Mattern. Beep! Here are the green words. Wives, ugly, froze, always, lovely, lazy, zigzag, grateful, fuzz, amazed, scales, danced, hold, haze, unzipped, became, bride, magically, appeared, size, told, fancy. The red words are only, water, any, married, friend. Once upon a time, a rich man lived in the south of China. He had 2 wives. Each wife had a little girl. Their names were Woo Zen and Woo Ling. One day the rich man died. Woo Zen's mom was so sad she soon died too. So Woo Ling's mom raised the little girls. Beep! Woo Zen was lovely, sweet, and bright. She had a face like the moon and soft skin like the fuzz on a peach. And she had very tiny feet. But her stepmother hated her. She was mad that Woo Ling was not like Woo Zen. Woo Ling was ugly, mean, and lazy. The stepmother made Woo Zen clean all day. She let Woo Ling spend lazy days in the shade of a tree. Woo Zen had rags for clothes. In the winter, she froze. Woo Ling sat by the fire in her fine, thick robes. Beep! Woo Zen's only friend was her pet fish, Zigzag. Zigzag swam quickly in his fish pond this way and that way. But he always stopped to listen to Woo Zen's problems. Woo Zen shared her meals with the fish. She kept his pond clean. Zigzag was grateful for Woo Zen's care. The time came for the king's big New Year feast at the palace. Woo Zen wanted to go, but her mean stepmother made her stay home. Woo Ling and her mother dressed in their best silk robes. Then they went to the New Year feast. Beep! Woo Zen sat by the pond and cried. She said, "I wish I could go to the New Year feast too." As her tears fell into the water, Zigzag spoke. Woo Zen was amazed. Zigzag said, "You may go to the King's New Year feast. I will be your robe, slippers, and fan. You can hide your face with the fan." Suddenly, in a haze of white fog, Zigzag disappeared. In his place were a lovely silk robe, a fan, and tiny slippers. They were bright and shining. They looked like the scales of a fish. Woo Zen was so happy. She dressed and went to the New Year feast. Beep! At the New Year feast, everyone looked at Woo Zen. "Who is that lovely girl?" they all asked. "Why does she hide her face?" The king saw Woo Zen and asked her to dance. As they danced, Woo Zen forgot to hold up her fan. Wu Ling saw her and yelled, "That is Woo Zen!" Woo Zen was so scared that she ran back home. Woo Zen sadly unzipped the robe and dropped it into the pond. It became Zigzag's body again. Then she dropped in the fan and he waved his tail. When she put in one slipper, a fin appeared. But the other slipper was missing. Woo Zen had dropped it running home. She felt very bad that Zigzag had only one fin. So did Zigzag. Beep! Meanwhile, the king had picked up the lost slipper. He wished to find the lovely girl whose foot fit the slipper. "I will make her my bride," he said. He sent his men to find her. All the girls in the city tried the tiny slipper. It was not the right size for any of them. One day the king's men came to Woo Zen's house. The stepmother made Woo Zen hide. She wanted Wu Ling to be the king's bride, but her big fat foot would not fit the tiny slipper. The men started to leave. Suddenly, Zigzag leaped out of his pond. He flopped to the place where Woo Zen was hidden. Everyone stared at the fish. They were amazed. Beep. Woo Zen tried on the slipper. It was just the right size. At last, Zigzag's other fin magically appeared. The king's men took Woo Zen and Zigzag to the palace. They told the king how Zigzag had helped them find Woo Zen. Woo Zen married the king. Now she lived at the king's palace. Zigzag had a big fancy pond. They were very, very happy. Question 1. Who was Woo Zen's only friend? Number 2. Write the answer on the blank line. I was too cold without a coat. I blank. A. Burned. B. Froze. C. Melted. Question 1. Why did Woo Zen run back home? Number 2. Write the answer on the blank line. Woo Zen was blank when Zigzag spoke. A. Amazed. B. Agreed. C. About. Question 1. What did Zigzag do when the king's men came? Number 2. Write the answer on the blank line. The robe blank Zigzag's body again. A. Between. B. Begin. C. Became.